can watch it later. I'll just remind you that this session is about adaptive components, and I wanted to share with other people from the forum basic tutorials and thoughts and things about adaptive component that some of you may be afraid of using them because maybe they don't know how to use them. I get this to work thanks to the Build blog from Zach Krohn. I watch a lot of video there and make a lot of tests and checking what's going on. So adaptive components are families coming from two kinds of templates. The first one is generic model adaptive component. If you get in the new family, sorry, it's in French, but you have a family template that is called generic model adaptive or adaptive component. And the second family template you have to play around with adaptive component is a curtain panel template. But structural people won't have it in Revit structure. You should have a Revit architecture or Fasari to have this template. So anyway, I have one here. It looks like this when you open it. You just have the portion of the divided surface and some adaptive points. I will come on this later. This is a kind of mock-up project to show you some of the features of adaptive components, and we'll play around on this and I'm just trying to explain you how it works. So starting in this environment of adaptive component generic model family template, you can see nothing different from a standard generic model. To check what is adaptive in this template, you have to play with points. So you have first to click on points and put maybe only one of them for the moment. And it's when you select this point, you will see in the ribbon make adaptive. The main point of making adaptive something is that it will flex accordingly to the environment where it is. I will show you in some examples later. So now you can see 3 reference planes attached to this little point and a number. You can see if I highlight, maybe it's not clear on the screen, this point is number 1. You can see this in the properties and it's called adaptive points. This is a point where you will put the generic model in the environment of the project. Just an example, if I make a model line from this point and I didn't that well, you have to on this point set the plane, then sketch something, and then if you move that point, what you put on this point as a host will move accordingly. It will move in the 3 directions. If you get this straight in the project, you will have at the end of your cursor the point that was named number 1. This is the way adaptive components works. So placing an adaptive component in the project, you will hit place. You have 2 ways of placing adaptive elements. Adaptive components, it could be placed on faces or on work planes, and the behavior in the project is somehow different when you place it on a face or on a work plane. I will show you later. So placing on a face, it highlights, and then you can click on some edges or some faces. And we check here. Maybe, okay, you can see just short mockup. But now in the project you have access to that point and you are able to pick a new host and put it elsewhere. Now it's here. I will make maybe a better example than just this awful line. So what I can do is to, on this point, host another point that will remain standard points. Just give it an offset that could be led by a parameter, and then if I move this, the point will follow back in the project. I have the point at the end, and as I made just a point, you won't see nothing, but if I link that to and load it again, you will see the little line. So this is one way that adaptive components, very simple mockup, works. And if I show you just an example of a kind of panel with many points, you will see exactly what I mean by placing it. In that family I have 1, 2, 3 and 4 points that are adaptive, and so I can place it by 4 clicks. So now the most basic family I ever made with generic models adaptive component is putting another point here, make it adaptive too. That point gets now number 2. It's the second click in the project. If you select those points and link them with the spline button, don't ask me why, but you should use the spline button to get a line, or you can also pick the plane from the first point, pick a line, and then pick the 2 points. No, it should not. It works only with the first one. So to connect 2 points, you select the 2 spline button, and now it will flex when I move the points. So now these 2 points can host a reference line, and this reference line can host a profile, so to make a solid form. The way to do this, the most simplest one, is to place a point on this line that now is following the line, to set the work plane on these little points. If I show you, you can see it. Just make a small thing on this, scrappy. Now we make a circle. And now if I select circle and the reference line and create form, I will get this. And in the project, I will place where it is. Yeah. By clicking on 2 points, I will get this in the project. And if I select by tab, just to show you, by tab I can select all the family, or if I select the whole model and click pick new host, I will have to place another 2 points to move it, but I can also tab until getting only one point, select, pick a new host and get the point here. This is the way that adaptive components could work. It's the simplest way they work. They have many advanced features. So now maybe we could look in details some of the properties of those adaptive points, in the family environment. I will just have a quick look at the chat room. So I did it. Okay, I hope everybody can hear me. Oh, 17 people. Okay, cool. So if you look more closely at these points in the family environment, you can check the properties. They have many as other objects. They have visibility overrides. You can show or hide a reference plane. You have some interesting properties, that is driving curves. It means that it is leading the attached line. If I uncheck it, it just broke the connection between two. So I have to select again and check this. Okay, and I will make this reference line. So back on the point, the most important thing to know is that this point could be a placement point, meaning it is a point that you must click in the project environment to place the model. It could be a reference point. It is the previous point that it was only with any number, just a simple points with the reference lines that are showing. And it could be also a shape handle point. This one is useful sometimes when you want to place an object with one click and then adjust the geometry. I will show you how it works in the project. So what I've done is, before I did that, I will just take it back. Okay, I have here point number 1, and now I have point number 2. With the geometry it will be better. If I select this point number 1 and make it not placement point but only shape handle point, it won't disappear. It will flex accordingly to the position of the point, but it loses the number. So the only points remaining that has number is this one, and if I load it in the project, you will see the difference. So now if I want to place this model, this tube, I will have to click on the face once, and then that's all. But I have access to the other point and can pick a new host to place it. So with two adaptive points, you have to click 2 times to place the model. If you decide to make this point shape handle point, you have still control on the geometry in the process environment, but it's only a 1-click or 2-click placement. If I make this with 3 points, we'll delete this, add a new one, make adaptive. So now it's get 1, 2. This one is the shape handle. I will turn it back in placement point. So now we have 1, 2, 3 points. If I select the 3, it spline. So now you don't have straight line anymore. I have a spline family environment. If I want it to remain straight lines, I have to select a point and then sketch reference line. Sorry. No. No, it doesn't. It's the wrong way. You have to select those two and hit that. Select those two, hit that, and this is now a reference line. Okay, so you have to make the choice, the selection 2 points by 2 points to make straight lines. And if you select the 3, if I just show you by copying it here, if I select the 3 and it's spline, you will have spline between the points. That's a difference you have to notice. Do it once again. To be clear, if you select 2 points and hit the spline button, you get a straight line. And then again here, straight line, and this line become reference line, and this line could also be reference line. And each time you may notice that each time you add a reference point, an adaptive point, sorry, it gets a increasing number. So here it is 1, 2, 3. Here it is 4, 5, and 6. Another thing I can show you is the difference between placing, as I said earlier, placing with on face or placing on a work plane. If you place it on the face, it will turn around the face to get in a special position. So I can select this, but it's only one click. Okay, I will do it back again. 2 points. I hope it's clear enough for you. It's very basic stuff for adaptive component, but it's you should start here to understand how they works, to get after that more complexity in your stuff. Okay, back in the project. So, what's the difference between placing on a face, placing on a work plane? On a face, you will follow special face and then you can drag until a junction. And then the only control you have on this model is by selecting points and picking new host. This happens when you select placing on the face. If you select placing on a work plane, you have to define first an active work plane, let's say at the top of this wall. Then placing on the work plane, it will look for this plane, only for this plane. So I can check here, here, and it was placed accordingly to the plane. But you can have now control at the end of the model on the adaptive points. You can select the point and you get a gizmo to adjust the position of the model in 3 directions. So this is very useful, and you should notice that depending on the fact you select a face or a plane, the ability to move the model after that won't be the same. And if I select the point, sorry, just a point, I can move with the gizmo, but I can also pick new host and select. So it's your choice to place it on a face or on a plane. Sometimes it's easier on a face, sometimes it's easier on a plane, but the behavior in the project won't be the same. I can move this in the Z-axis without any host, but if I make a new instance and I place on a face, I can connect it everywhere I want, but to place it in another place, I can't move the Z-axis on this second point. I can only pick a new host and get it. This is a two main difference of the behavior of the components when they are placed in the project. Do it once again, place on a face or place on a work plane. It's not absolutely not the same. Another cool thing is this little button. You can change the placement, meaning once you started to place the model, you can click and then click again, click, click any times you want until you press escape to make a chain of model. Each model each element is just a single element, but you can place them very fastly, very rapidly. So I started to play with adaptive components to make mockups for tubes and pipes in my project. Small pipes or big pipes, depending on the project, but this was the first use I had. And I made this with 3 points, I guess. Check basic pipe. Okay, that's it. This was maybe the first model adaptive component I made. And when you load it in the project, you have the control of a big pipe with 4 points to control. I will place on the work plane here, and you get 1, 2, 3, and 4 points. And that's a good, for me, it's good mock-up of some pipes. You have control on all the points, so it's good enough to me. So sometimes to play with kind of pipes in a project environment to simulate. It's just act like a placeholder for pipes. It's very easy and fast to place in a project. Even if you check the chain here, you can place as many you want with just clicks, 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 escape, and you have great sort of pipes. This is basic but useful use of this, I guess. I hope you agree with me. So what's up in the chat room? I wanted to point out the work plane. Yes, you're right, Carl. I wanted to show you just after the fact one of the properties of the points that they have a placement behavior depending on the settings you have in the family. And maybe you have another thing to add? Yes. If I activate the gizmo and hit space, let's see. Why not this one? Gizmo. No, no orange. No, nothing turns orange. I am answering to a question. But I've seen this change of color when the gizmo is. How you think it's Vasari, Gabi? Maybe. Yes, I saw it in Revit in a massing environment. So guys, feel free to correct me if I make mistakes. It's just I'm just a newbie in adaptive components and just playing. Okay, fine, I will just go on. The quick mockup I made, I will show you the importance of, I get now only a single point. So I will place another point on this one that will be hosted on it, make it have an offset. So if I move, okay, that's fine. And I will make just a simple connection between the two, just a small line, okay. When I select the adaptive points, you can see, so the first important property was the category of the point. Another one is, in fact, the number. A tricky thing is you may keep in mind that this number could be driven by a parameter, could be useful sometimes. Show placement number, it's not that important, but what important thing is orientation. Orientation is the way to define how it will be placed in the project environment or in another family if you nest a component. So if you say by host reference, it will calculate this. I don't know exactly the details, but according to the plane, it will place accordingly as it was in the family environment. But if you check some of the properties, I didn't figure out what they are doing actually, but I say that I can see that vertical emplacement is very important. So I will put this just as it is now by host reference in the project to see how it works. It's a famous family one. So if I place it on the work plane, it stays just as in the family environment, just straight. If I place it on the face, it will follow the face where it is placed. You can see that if I place it on this face of the curved wall, it follows the surface. If I place it under the stair, it stays perpendicular to the face.